For the third segment of this episode of Morning Kickoff, episode 38, we are going to be talking about who is the toughest division in the NFL currently. I have already recorded this, I think, 2 times, but I know I can do better. Oh, I have to switch the screen too. There we go. I know I can do better. That's why I'm recording this for a third time, and this time is going to be the charm. Third time's the charm. It just works every time. Okay, so we're going to rank the divisions off of toughness, not how great of a team each division has. Some of these divisions have an amazing team that stands out from the rest of them, but they're not a tough division at all. There's one great team, the rest of them are garbage. So they're not a tough division at all. And we're going to rank them from dead last to the toughest division. Starting with the last place, we have AFC North. AFC North consists of course, the Baltimore Ravens, who run this division. The Baltimore Ravens have an amazing offense, amazing defense, great coaching staff. One of the best teams in the entire NFL is the Baltimore Ravens. They dominate the AFC North. You look at these other teams, though, not good at all. Pittsburgh Steelers have to go in a rebuild mode. Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know why they're still trying to compete. They should have took Jameis Winston. They should have had Jameis Winston sit under Ben Roethlisberger, and they need a new starting wide receiver. Juju is not it. Juju is no starting wide receiver. James Conner, he's going to get injured again. Well, you don't know that, but James Conner is not a starting running back either. After losing Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, which they had to do, they should have went in a rebuild. Instead, they're training for Minkah Fitzpatrick. They're trying to use Ben Roethlisberger still and using Juju as a starting receiver. This is not a good decision by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a great coaching staff. They're good enough to go for a rebuild. Pittsburgh Steelers are no threat in the NFL at all, especially not in the AFC North where it runs by the Baltimore Ravens. You look at the other teams. Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, they were the worst team last season. They got better. You don't know how they're going to look, but I still don't see them going anywhere far at all. Cleveland Browns, it's the Browns. Come on. Although the Browns do have a lot of players. Nick Chubb is probably one of the best running back in the NFL. You don't know. They have a great receiving core, too. Their offense looks pretty tough. On the defensive side of the ball, they can get to the passer with Myles Garrett. Not a bad team. Cleveland Browns are also not much of a threat at all. They've never been. I don't think have ever been a threat in the NFL. So anyways, we're just going to go with them still being bad. So AFC East, it ranks number 7th. Didn't think I was going to be saying this, but AFC East is finally open. I mean, with the New England Patriots running this division for so long, they're finally open with these other teams that can compete. Now, you look at the other teams, though, not a very tough division. New York Jets, they're going to be terrible. I think New York Jets... I think New York Jets, again, are going to be one of the bottom 3 teams in the NFL. They have no playmakers on offense. Now, I know they have Le'Veon Bell. Has Le'Veon Bell been good in the last 2 seasons? I haven't seen it. They have no playmakers on offense. Sam Darnold has barely any offensive line help. Now, I know they drafted someone in the first round, and I think that he will work. Their defense is worse now. No, their defense is worse now. Yeah, they traded Jamal Adams. They have nobody. New York Jets have nobody. They're not going to be anything. They're garbage. Now, you look at these other teams, though. Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills, it's finally time for them to run this team. They have a great defense, great offense. They're a pretty stacked roster, and I think Buffalo Bills, it's finally time for them to run this division. Now, of course, you still have the New England Patriots, who I don't think are going to be starting Cam Newton, but I think that Cam Newton will be used a lot. They still have Julian Edelman, James White. They still have Sony Michel. They have playmakers in offense, and they still have the greatest head coach in all of sports. Every sports league, Bill Belichick, who is going to design plays, and they're going to still compete. New England Patriots, I don't know if they're going to win the division, but outside of that, New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills are tough teams. And then you have the Miami Dolphins, who, yeah, they got Tua Tagovailoa. They have some offense. They have great receiving. No one talks about the receiving core. The receiving core is great. Their defense can get some help. Miami Dolphins are not going to be a threat at all, though. They're still in a rebuilding phase. They need a couple more years for them to fully rebuild. Now, ranking 6th, we have the AFC South. Already, the bottom 3 divisions are all AFC. We only have one AFC team left. Jeez. But the AFC has great teams, too. In the AFC South, even, they have the Indianapolis Colts, who I think the Indianapolis Colts could really make it out the AFC and be in the Super Bowl next year. They're going to dominate the schedule. Indianapolis Colts have the easiest schedule in the NFL, and they made so many new moves. They brought in DeForest Buckner. They brought in Phillip Rivers. Who knows how Phillip Rivers is going to look? They brought in Jonathan Taylor. Those are 3 players that are going to mean so much for the team, and they're going to be competing this next season. And they're going to dominate the AFC South, make it out by far. The Indianapolis Colts are a tough team. Now, Phillip Rivers, what held him back in with the Chargers was a terrible offensive line. The Chargers had an awful offensive line last year. Now, I know they changed that this year, but still, He's with a way better offensive line in Indianapolis, and he has way more playmakers to work with. I think Jonathan Taylor was a great pick in the second round. That was one of my favorite picks in the draft. Jonathan Taylor is going to be great with the Indianapolis Colts. Such a good spot for him to go. Still, great receiving core. Indianapolis Colts are going to compete in the AFC, might make it out. I mean, there's a couple other teams in the AFC that are probably going to beat the Indianapolis Colts. But anyways, that's why the AFC South is ranked 6th, is because Indianapolis Colts are a great team. And then you look at these other teams, they got some talent. I mean, Tennessee Titans still have a great defense. Tennessee Titans on the other side of the ball have Derrick Henry to give the ball to, and he runs the rock like nobody else. Tennessee Titans are still a good team. I don't see them winning the division at all. I don't even see them making it into the playoffs. Who knows how Ryan Tannehill is going to look? I know Ryan Tannehill looked great last year. I don't think that's going to happen again. I saw him play in Miami, and he looked awful in Miami. So I'm not very high on Ryan Tannehill. Now you look at these other teams. Houston Texans. They got rid of D-Hop. Houston Texans have the worst head coach in the entire NFL. Bill O'Brien has got to leave, and they have one of the best quarterbacks, though. And of course, quarterback is the most important position, so they could be a good team, although I don't see them making the playoffs again. I had Houston Texans going to the Super Bowl last year. Look how dumb I look now. I do think J.J. Watt, though, is going to come back. I think J.J. Watt will be comeback player of the year. He still has the same athletic ability. He is still a great defensive end. J.J. Watt can still be a threat. If he can stay healthy, that is. And then, of course, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the worst team in the NFL. There's not much to talk about there. Now, ranked 5th, we have the worst division last year. A lot of people called them the worst division last year. I disagree. I think that there was worse divisions simply because divisions had teams that dominated. Look at the NFC South last year. The New Orleans Saints destroyed that division. The rest of the team sucked. Not a very tough division right there. NFC South, though, they're a pretty tough, NFC East. They're a pretty tough division when you look at it. Now, they have the Philadelphia Eagles, who the Eagles are still not bad. They have a great offensive line. Fletcher Cox on the defensive side of the ball. They have some players on defense, not very many. They added, who'd they add? Can't remember his name right now. They added a new corner that they got from the Lions. Can't remember his name, but that fills in for what they failed last season. They had an awful secondary last season, and they still have a lot of playmakers on offense. All veterans can give you some plays. So Philadelphia Eagles, I don't see them doing much. The run game is awful. Their pass game is pretty weak too. So I don't see Philadelphia Eagles doing much. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys. Stacked roster, front and back. Dallas Cowboys have playmakers all over, and Dallas Cowboys will run this division. Although it is the Cowboys, so they'll probably end up failing. But there's no reason the Dallas Cowboys shouldn't. Mike McCarthy's a great head coach, though. Mike McCarthy is a far better head coach than they had last year. I don't think that the Green Bay Packers should have got rid of him. He was a great head coach. And then you have the New York Giants, who are going to feed Saquon Barkley the ball. And as long as you have Saquon Barkley getting fed the ball, you're going to get some plays. So they're going to be a team, not a tough team at all. New York Giants, again, are not going to be a very good team. And then you have Washington Football Team is what they're calling themselves. They're going to be terrible. Not much to talk about there. Decent defense, though. They got a decent defense. Still not going to do anything. And then you ranked number 4th, we have my division, the NFC North. With the Minnesota Vikings being a stacked roster, now outside of cornerback, with the big question mark, offensive line being a question mark, Minnesota Vikings can compete in the NFC, and stacked roster, front and back. Green Bay Packers are next. Green Bay Packers, again, a great team. They have an amazing secondary. Their secondary might not be one of the best in the league right now, but in the future it will be. Green Bay Packers, going to be a tough team. I don't think that they're going to make it to the playoffs, though. I do not think it's going to happen. And then you have the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears, who both have good players. Don't think that's very tough. Don't think that's even though it's ranked 4th, I don't think it's still a very tough division because of the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears. I don't think are going to be doing very much. Detroit Lions got some playmakers, though. Kenny Golladay and TJ Hawkinson are good players on the offense. And then ranked 3rd, I wanted to rank these guys first, honestly, but 3 of these teams, 3 out of 4 of them, you don't know how they're going to look, and that is the AFC West. AFC West obviously highlighted by the greatest team in the NFL, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Amazing. They added Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that's the piece they needed to their offense. Now their offense is going to be 10 times better. They're going to be scoring against anybody, and if you can't put up that many points against their defense, then you're going to fail. Kansas City Chiefs are amazing. And then outside of that, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders brought in Henry Ruggs, Josh Jacobs. They look amazing. Las Vegas Raiders do look great, but the thing is, you don't know how they're going to look. They're all young players. You don't really know how they're going to look because a lot of their players are new. So that's the reason why I can't say that the Raiders are going to be a tough team, but what I can say is that they added some good pieces. And then we have the LA Chargers, again, another team that added so many pieces to their team. They fixed like I said, Phillip Rivers, terrible offensive line last year. They fixed that problem. They brought in Try Turner, they brought in Brian Bulaga, they brought in Marquise Pouncey. They have a great offensive line now for them. Still amazing playmakers. I know they lost Melvin Gordon, but Austin Eckler is just better in all ways, shapes, and forms. They can get to the passer with Joey Bosa. Still, their defense is not looking that great. They did bring in Chris Harris Jr. and Linval Joseph, though, which could be great pieces for their defense as well. So LA Chargers brought in so many playmakers, so many players on defense and offense that could do them a lot of works. They brought back Hunter Henry. They still have Keenan Allen. What is there to say besides the fact that who's going to be starting? I mean, I've been saying Justin Herbert was a terrible pick, 6th overall. That was an awful pick for the team. I think that they're going to be starting, what's the guy's name? Tyrod Taylor. I think that they're going to be starting Tyrod Taylor for the team. I think it's okay. I'm not a fan of Justin Herbert at all, to be honest, but depending on how their quarterback group looks, they could really I don't think they can make it out the AFC West, though, because of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't see them going to the Super Bowl or anything, but they can be a tough team. Again, this is why I rank this team 3rd, is because these teams can all be tough. All of them can be tough. And then you have the Denver Broncos, another team that made major moves, drafted the best wide receiver in the NFL draft this year, being Jared Jeudy. They added Jerry Jeudy. Drew Lock showed a lot of promise last year. Drew Lock showed a lot of promise. They have a talented offensive line with Melvin Gordon with Melvin Gordon in the backfield, a player that is amazing, a player that they got from the LA Chargers so he can give them inside knowledge of their offense. Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay in the backfield is going to be great. They have Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler on the offense to throw to. Drew Lock has so much help. And you look at their defense, that is amazing. Their defense are all veterans, front and back. They can get to the passer. They can stop the run. They can stop your pass. They can do anything you want. They're all veterans. It's still the same. It's almost the exact same defense they had when they won the Super Bowl. Denver Broncos can be a tough team. Drew Lock has to show it, though. Drew Lock, both the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers and the Raiders all have great players. They just need their quarterback to show it, and they're going to be a tough team. But then again, they're in the same division with the Kansas City Chiefs. That division I wanted to give first, but we don't know how 3 of those teams are going to look. That's why I said that. Anyways, NFC West ranks number 2nd with, of course, the San Francisco 49ers, who made the Super Bowl last year. I don't think are going to get close to that. I don't even think that they're going to make the playoffs this year. But with that being said, they still have George Kittle, still have a great offense. Deebo Samuel showed a lot of promise. They still look great. Defense, I think, is going to still be... San Francisco 49ers are still a tough team. I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl, though, but they're still a tough team. LA Rams. Why were the LA Rams so bad last year? I have no idea. Jared Goff just all of a sudden didn't want to play good. LA Rams, they're still a tough team, but I don't think if they're going to compete. I think if they're going to rank 4th in this division. I don't see it happening. I don't think they're going to compete at all. And then the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, Seattle Seahawks have made the playoffs 7 of the last 8 seasons. There's not much to say about that. Russell Wilson is amazing. And adding DK Metcalf is going to be huge for this this Seattle Seahawks offense. They added the greatest safety in the NFL, Jamal Adams on the defensive side of the ball. Look at that. Come on. They're amazing. They can still get to the passer. They still have a run game. Not really. I mean, Chris Carson is okay. They still have Rashad Penny. He looks okay. Receiving core, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf is going to be great. Their tight end, they have a new tight end. Who did they get? They got the tight end from Greg Olsen. Come on, the Seattle Seahawks are just better than they were last season. And the last season, they made it to the NFC. Did they do the championship game? No, they made it to the divisional round and lost to the Packers, I think. Okay, so, and then, of course, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who I picked to win this division, and people will hate me, but the Arizona Cardinals, again, made so many moves, bringing in D-Hop, probably the 3rd best wide receiver in the entire NFL, and with that offense, it's going to be great. Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray is such a great duo. Not as good as Russell Wilson with Pete Carroll, though, but still, Arizona Cardinals can really compete, and that division is tough. That division is really hard. There's like a big gap between the NFC North and then the top 3 divisions, AFC West, NFC West, and the toughest division in the NFL, the NFC South. What is there to say about this? New Orleans Saints have been great for so long. New Orleans Saints have been amazing. Adding Emmanuel Sanders was the most underrated move in this NFL offseason, was adding Emmanuel Sanders, who brings that piece that keep saying the Vikings, because I do like the Saints as well, that the Saints needed for their team. Adding Emmanuel Sanders was amazing. You look at these other teams, Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons can be good. Calvin Ridley could be a good running back, wide receiver. Calvin Ridley could be good. They brought in They brought in dude from the Rams. What's the guy's name from the Rams? Todd Gurley. They brought in Todd Gurley, so this offense still looks good. Again, though, it's the Atlanta Falcons. You can't say that you know that they're going to be good. They could be amazing. They could be awful. It's the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers don't think that they're going to be much. Now, of course, they did move on from Cam Newton and grabbed Teddy Bridgewater. I thought that was a great move, although I don't think that the Carolina Panthers are going to be good at all. They're in too much of a rebuilding phase to compete in the NFC South. I don't think that the Carolina Panthers are going to be tough, but they have a pretty good receiving core, one of the best in the NFL, and Teddy Bridgewater is a great thrower. He's a great, accurate passer, can move inside the pocket. Carolina Panthers, though, are not going to be tough considering the division that they're in, and then also they have a few more years for them to rebuild. And then, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Come on, what is there to say about this? They added Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. They added, well, not right now. Right now, he's not even close to one of the best in the league. But when you look at the amount of wins he has, when you look at, okay, you get the idea. And they also added Rob Gronkowski. Don't know how Gronk is going to look, but of course, he's one of the best tight ends of all time. So he could also be looking really well. Great offense. Amazing offense. Did they add a running back? I think they added a running back too. So what is there to say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers other than that they're an amazing team? NFC South, by far the best division in the NFL. Nobody's going to disagree with that. But what I will ask is, what do you disagree with? What would your list be? NFC South are obviously the best division in the NFL. Don't at me. But the rest of the divisions, you can really rank them however you'd like. Let me know what y'all think in the description. If you're listening to this podcast, come check me out on YouTube and leave. I would love to see your list. Or you can check me out on Instagram or anywhere you'd like to. Thank you for tuning into this segment of Morning Kickoff.